Hi everyone, I'm Christy Forsyth with Clarity by Christy. I am a soul therapist and an intuitive that connects with the angelic energy. This is your weekly reading for what you need to know to make the most of this week's energy. This is quite a week. We're doing a lot of work this week. Are you guys feeling the work that we're doing? I know I'm doing a lot of work. I'm laughing just thinking about even my day and my sessions today and the work that people are putting in. People are doing the work. You guys are doing amazing work, and it's a lot. It's a lot. I always say people complain about Mercury retrograde. I always say that Venus retrograde is way more challenging in terms of the things that we're called to work through. It's really asking us to do some deep work, and it's just a lot. I felt like I'm processing so many things from the past, just processing things that I thought that I had dealt with, noticing triggers from the past that I didn't expect to ever trigger me again, and just a whole lot of emotion, a whole lot of trying to just work through all of the heaviness of these feelings. So I'm curious if you guys are in the same spot, if you're feeling the intensity of that, the emotion of that, the processing of that. Now we are in Venus retrograde. We also have a full moon. And so that's also adding to the intensity. Today I'm filming this on August 1st, and here today on August 1st is the full moon. So we're going to be feeling the energy today, yesterday, the next couple of days. I've also noticed that there's been crazy solar flares again this week. So a lot of people I've noticed a lot of people commenting on just the level of anxiety that they're feeling. I think that it's so important that we ask ourselves, is it possible that my anxiety or this anxiety that I'm experiencing is caused or connected to the energy that I'm processing? I think that if you're somebody who's sensitive to energy, videos like this, or just being aware of the astrology, being aware of the solar activity with things like the solar flares, things like the Schumann resonance, it's so helpful to be aware of what's happening there with that, because when we're aware, we have an understanding of how our energy field, how our unique energy field is responding to things like this. To notice, how did I feel the last time that Venus retrograde happened? And what was I working on then? Because it gives us a sense of how these things impact us and influence us, so that it helps us to kind of have a sense of one, what we're going to be working on, but also understanding that this is temporary, right? This work that we're doing is temporary, and it's not going to feel like this forever. In fact, nothing that we experience will be that way forever. The only constant is change, and I think that that's so important for us to keep in mind. This energy is so multi-layered. When I explain to you that I've been working through a lot of stuff, I don't even know how to put it into words, what it is that I'm experiencing, because there's so many layers to it. And I'm really curious if you guys are feeling that too, like so many layers, so many different facets of these things. And I think a big part of that is that we're really stepping it up in terms of this inner child work that we're doing. We all have that inner child. We all have a wounded inner child in some way, shape, or form. And it's so important that we are honoring that inner child, that we're doing that inner child work. And I think that it's really helpful even to take a look at where we're being triggered now, and asking ourselves, is this trigger that I'm attributing, or this thing that I'm attributing the trigger to, can I look back to other circumstances in my life that I felt the same way? Because I think a lot of times if we can trace it back, and we can go deeper, we can get to the root of what's actually going on with us, right? So this coworker that has triggered you in some way, it's probably not really about the coworker, right? It's maybe about a situation that happened years and years and years ago where you felt a similar way. And I think that it's important and helpful to take a look at that and ask ourselves, am I being triggered by something that's deeper than what's happening here on the surface? And when we can understand what's actually going on, then we can do some work around that. Then we can start to heal around that. I think that this is a really great week, a really important week for us to tune in with that inner child and not only ask ourselves what we need, because I do think that we need more love and compassion and support right now, but also to extend that question to the inner child. What are you needing? Because that answer, by the way, might be different. You might be surprised by the answer that you get back from yourself. I think that there's a lot of work to be done there with that, and for us to take that time to tune in with ourselves, to listen to ourselves, to recognize the fears that we're having and how maybe those are connected to inner child fears as well. There's so much energy too that we're working on just in regard to like us living our most authentic life. I think that we're really being called to live our most authentic life, and that can feel really scary, right? I think I titled this video something like something about being authentic, or do you want to be authentic or do you want to be safe, right? Because I think that there's this, we're exhausted, right? And there's this call to lean into the safety. There's this feeling like, oh, well, I kind of just want to make myself as comfortable as possible. But I think when we're making ourselves as comfortable as possible, we're not always offering ourselves the opportunity to grow and to progress. You know, one thing that came up for me, and it kind of seems silly, right? But it came up and it was significant for me, was some things that I heard just even in regard to some things that people had said about these videos that I create here. And there was like truly an inner child or an old trigger for me there with that, where I started to go into like feeling like the weird person, or just going into all of these old thought patterns and feeling not good enough and things like that. And so I followed that thought process. And that thought process started to want to lead me to, I thought, well, maybe I just won't do it anymore. Maybe I just won't create these in the same way, or maybe I will shut down more and share less of myself. And that was where I kind of got a little bit of a pep talk from the angels and got redirected on that pretty quickly. And I think that this is something that we need to be redirecting ourselves pretty quickly, because it is scary to put yourself out here. It is scary, but the most authentic version of myself is helping people in this way. And continuing to just stretch myself out of my comfort zone, even in the ways that I'm making these videos, in allowing myself to be even more authentic in the way that I'm showing up in these videos, and to share a little bit more about my truth, because I'm created to be of the collective energy, right? To be able to reflect back the collective energy for you guys. And so I'm going to have these experiences where I'm tapping into this energy, where I'm feeling this energy, where it's impacting me. And part of the message that I got, and what I'm meant to share with you guys, is that it's so important that we're taking these challenges and the ways that we're being stretched and pushed out of our comfort zones, and that we use that to continue to develop into our most authentic selves, and that we pull from even the challenging parts of all of this, the pain and the difficulty, and even the reliving the difficult times, and that we use it to help other people with. You know, I think about, I've had some really significant trauma in childhood and growing up, and what's amazing to me is the way that I pull from that every single day. The things that I learned, the strategies that I learned, the strength that I developed through that, I pull from that every single day, or the lessons that I learned in that, to help people every single day. And I recognize that, and I recognize how that made me greater and it made me stronger. And I think that it's important for us to take a look at the things that are happening for us now. Number one, I think it's going to feel a little bit bigger than it actually is. I think it'll feel lighter on the other side of this Venus retrograde and as we work through it. But I also think, like, isn't there a gift even in this? Isn't there a gift in the story? And especially when one of the things I'm noticing is also finding that I'm frustrated, right? With certain things not happening the way that I want them to, or happening in the timing that I want them to. And I learned this lesson again and again and again. And I keep pulling that patience card, right? From the Oracle deck, this understanding that we need to be patient and that the story may not be over, right? We're just in the middle of our story, and to enjoy the journey and to have patience in that. I hope that this makes sense. I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm trying to share there's a lot that's happening right now, and there's a lot that we're feeling in so many ways that we're being stretched and pushed and growing, but we're going to use it. And can we use it? Can we use it even now to just say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Anybody else struggling with this too? Anybody else feeling this too? Because I think that there's real value in that, in just us connecting. It's a place for us to connect in our authenticity. I think that we're being called to lean into our most authentic self, whether that's just us showing up in a way that feels more real, more authentic, more consistent, whether that's us honoring our truth and leaning into that, even if that feels scary. I see somebody's comment. Let's see what she said. Lily says, yes, I feel that on every level. I keep reminding myself that change is uncomfortable, but necessary. Absolutely. I needed to read that right now. Change is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And safety, what we perceive as safety, isn't even always safety, right? I think that we didn't come here to stay in a safe, protective bubble. We came here to learn. We came here to grow and develop ourselves. And I think that the real safe, protective bubble is like what we're creating through this expansion. This is an expansion. Next Tuesday, when I'm going to be doing that video, we will be at the Lion's Gate. That is such an expansion. It's such a powerful time, a powerful level up, a powerful time of us connecting even more so with our authenticity and connecting with downloads and further development of where we're meant to go. I think that we're being called right now, here this week, in this time, to honor what makes us uniquely us. And I think that part of what we need to be asking ourselves is, where am I trying to be somebody else? Whether it's somebody else that somebody else wants me to be, whether it's, I'm letting somebody else model something for me that doesn't quite feel authentic. I shared about my feeling, or what was going on with comments about my videos, and thinking, maybe I need to kind of just do that the way that somebody else does that. And when it comes down to it, that wouldn't be me being my authentic self. And I'm going to connect with the people that are meant to connect with us. And that's ultimately what I concluded in that, right? So just being me, uniquely me, is what I need to do. And you being uniquely you is what you need to do. And that's scary in and of itself, right? But can we honor that? Because I think that that's part of where we're growing. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Venus retrograde, make sure you watch last week's video where I break it all down, and the week before I break it all down. But part of what we're doing is working through relationship stuff. Venus is supporting us in doing our work around relationships. And one of the ways that I'm noticing it showing up is helping people to detach, to unhook from unhealthy relationship patterns. Not saying it's comfortable, but I'm saying that it's happening. And the other way that I think that it's supporting people collectively on a grander scale is us taking a look at where we need to heal our relationship with ourselves, where we need to honor ourselves, where we need to love ourselves more. And so I would recognize, where are the issues that are coming up for you this week, and how is that connected to self-love, and where you need to love yourself harder, where you need to honor your unique self, your authentic self more. And where are you leaning too much into that safety zone and keeping you stuck? Where do we need to step out of that so that we can become even better? So I think that this is all really important. I also got that message when I was tuning into this energy that people are feeling frustrated, right? I think that there's an energy of wanting to give up in some ways on some things. Waiting on divine timing can be really hard, really frustrating sometimes. And I got the message that it's important that we not give up. If our soul is calling for something, that we not give up. Should we release our grip on some things? Absolutely, right? Hand the control over, surrender it, and continue to surrender it, because that is going to allow us to not only get there in the best way, but a lot of times in the faster way as well. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I've noticed this myself, that when I finally get to the point where I'm like kicking and screaming my way into surrender, because I've definitely had to get there. I can be kind of stubborn sometimes. When I finally hand it up, it's like that's where all the magic happens. When I'm finally like, I don't know what else to do, so I guess I'll just surrender this. That's where all the good stuff happens. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities for surrender and healing here in this week. Let's take a look at the cards. So the first card that we have here is the Four of Cups. Can we recognize the gifts that are coming in this week? Because I don't think that they necessarily always look like gifts. I think they look like pain. I think they look like struggle. I think they look hard. I think they look like, holy shit, am I dealing with this again? They're a gift, right? This card, look at the cup. That's meant to represent the hand of God handing us something. And if we're so focused on what's happening around us, we're going to miss the blessing. We're going to miss the gift in it. We're going to miss where we're being led. I also think that with everything that's been happening, there's a defensiveness, right? I've noticed like myself almost like closing within myself and being kind of defensive, just in terms of not being really open to anything outside of myself. And I think that it is important that we open ourselves up as well. Yes, this energy is calling us to go inward, and we're going to be progressively going inward throughout the month. But also, can we be open? You know, this is Leo season. Can we have some fun? Can we spend time with the people that we enjoy? Can we break up? Maybe our safety zone is home. Maybe our safety zone is like, okay, I'm like our routines and we're doing the same things. Can we break out of that? Can we have a little bit more of a sense of adventure and enjoy that? Because if not, we might be missing out on experiences and opportunities and things that we're really feeling called to do. The next card that we have here is the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. We have to let some things break down in order to build them up in the way that's best for us. Let what wants to go, go. Let what seemed maybe right at the time, let it go. Like if your soul is calling for that change, let it go. Let things be different than you expected them to be. And can we try to find a way to ease our way through that, even though that feels challenging, even though that feels stressful? None of this stuff is easy. Can we find ways to take care of ourselves, to support ourselves, so that we can let ourselves be led on this journey? I think the fastest way, the easiest way on this journey to get to where we're supposed to be is to let ourselves be led by our higher power. And that starts by inviting that in. That starts by saying, show me. Show me the way. I invite you to show me the way. I ask you to show me. I ask you to guide me. I ask you to give me the answers. And then our job is to listen to the answers when we get them, because a lot of times the answers feel scary when we get them. The next card, the Knight of Wands. When we get the answers, when we have the knowing, when we see the vision, when we know how we can be our most authentic self, or we know what our soul is calling for, when we know what it is that we need to do, can we dig deep down and do what we need to do? Can we go for it even though we feel afraid? I think that we're going to be called to go for something, to do something, to take a step in the direction of something that feels really scary. But this Knight of Wands, like whenever we follow the direction that the Knight of Wands is leading us, it's always leading us in the direction of what we really want, what our soul really wants, maybe not what our ego wants, but what our soul wants. This is about looking at what sets our soul on fire. And I think that Leo season shows us what sets our soul on fire. It helps us to understand that. And can we follow in that direction? And the Knight of Wands will charge full force in the direction of the things that he's passionate about. Let your passion, let your excitement, let your sense of adventure guide you. This is a beautiful opportunity for that. But we also are going within, right? We see this Venus retrograde with this Hanged Man calling us to go within, calling us to be okay with not having all the answers or not knowing where this path that we're taking is going to lead us. Allowing ourselves to listen more, to reflect more, to hear what our soul, what our higher power, what our higher self has been trying to show us all along. I think that if we tune in, there's opportunities for powerful understanding. It might not happen this week, and we might need to be okay with sitting in this discomfort because there's a purpose in it, because there's a growing in it. I did a session with somebody right before us, and I apologized a few times because I said, I know I'm really pushing you out of your comfort zone today. But she did it, and it was really miraculous in the way that I felt the energy be released. And so when we can lean into the discomfort, sometimes like that allows us to get to that place where we can truly release it, where we can truly move forward, where we can truly heal. We have to be willing to go into those dark, heavy, scary places sometimes with the understanding that God's light, the universe's light, that our own light will lead us back out of that and lead us into a better place, lead us into clarity, right? Right after that Hanged Man, we have the Ace of Swords. Clarity, understanding, knowing, seeing the new path, seeing the new way, seeing where we need to go, seeing things with a new perspective, a deep understanding, seeing things from God's eyes, from God's perspective, from the bigger picture, understanding that. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to get to that place this week through this journey. The full moon always shines a light on something. What is the full moon shining a light on for you? Let it show you. Let it guide you. Let it show you what you want to commit to in life, the Hierophant. What do you want to commit to? What do you want to dive into with your whole heart, with your whole soul? What do you want to lean into that you're willing to commit to? What are you willing to commit to yourself? And where are you making commitments to yourself that you want to make sure that you're honoring? I think it's so important that the commitments that we make to ourselves are the ones that we're honoring the most. This is how we build self-love, right? We talked about self-love earlier. When we're leaning into that, when we are honoring the commitments that we made to ourselves, even when it's easy to make excuses, even when it's easy to hold ourselves back and wait another day, week, year, 5 years, whatever, that says something to us about our level of self-love. And when we start to honor ourselves and honor our commitments to ourselves, it really forces us to raise the bar in regard to how hard we love ourselves. I hope that these messages resonate with you. You guys can feel there's a lot going on right now. A lot of messages for you. I would love to hear where you guys are at. I would love for you to tell me about where you're authentically at and what's going on for you and what insights are coming in for you and what changes you're feeling called to make. So feel free to leave that in comments. If these messages resonate with you, please like this video. If you're watching this on my YouTube, please subscribe, support the channel. It's so helpful. Please share these messages with anybody who you feel like needs them. Maybe you're intuitively thinking of somebody while we're going through this and you're like, oh, you know what? The person that needs to hear this, there's a person I know that really needs to hear this. Even if you don't know what they have going on, share this with them. Privately, publicly, however you feel called to do that. But it all helps to support these messages getting delivered to exactly the right people. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you so much, and I will see you soon with another video. Take care, guys.